All right, Shalom, Shalom. Bayaf Yasha It's Akar Kabashayna, WFI Detroit, coming at you with yet another live video. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glorification unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem HaMashiach, wa Malak Yahweh Shah. Right? That's all praises to the Heavenly Father in the name of His only begotten Son, who the world will ignorantly call Jesus the Christ, the anointed Savior and the King of Yasha Allah, you princes of the power who will be the children of Israel today. Right? Shalom, Shalom. Right? You blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans who will be the children of Israel today. Right? Aparatazai, you had at the Wab, Yuam, right? Shabbat Shalom. And we go get right to it. So another installment of who is and what can you learn from them, right? So today we're going into who is Nabal and what can we learn from them. Who is Nabal and what can we learn from them, right? So first, we kick it off with this precept in 2 Samuel, right? 2 Samuel chapter 2, it's like chapter 3. I'm going to start at verse, right, number 2. It says, and unto David were sons born in Hebron, and his firstborn was Amnon of Ohiniam the Jezreelitess, and his second Kaliab of Abigail, the wife of Nabal the Carmelite, right? So it says Abigail, the wife of Nabal, right? So did David commit adultery? Now we know David committed adultery, but that was Bathsheba. So who is Abigail, Nabal's wife? Right, we should go find out about Nabal. Hey, he was put to death, man. Right, Nabal was put to death by the Most High, so his wife was free to marry another man, right? As it's stated in the law. Let me get that. First Corinthians, right? It's the book of First Corinthians. It's like Second Corinthians, or yeah, I think I want First Corinthians, not chapter 7, and verse number 39, right? First Corinthians 7:39. It says, "The wife is bound by the law as long as her husband liveth. But if her husband be dead, she is at liberty to be married to whom she will, only in the Lord," right? So Nabal, right, he was actually put to death, man. Nabal was put to death, so his wife was given unto David. That's why when you read after, because he was in First Samuel the 25th chapter, right? But we just read Second Samuel the 3rd chapter, and it's still saying Nabal's wife, right? Because that's a just pretty much that reference to show that this man's foolishness, right, led to him getting put to death and his wife being given to another man, a man that's better than him, right? So Nabal, right, Abigail's husband, he was a very unrighteous man, right? So we go see what we can learn, because you can learn, from wicked men by learning what not to do. Like they said, a wise man learn from the mistakes of others, right? So we go get it, and smart man learn from his own mistakes, but a wise man learn from the mistakes of others. So we can learn from the mistakes of Nabal, right? So let's get to where Nabal was introduced. That's First Samuel chapter 25. We'll start at the first chapter, the first verse. It says, "And Samuel died, and all the Israelites were gathered together and lamented him and buried him in his house at Ramah. And David arose and went down to the wilderness of Paran. And there was a man in Moab whose possessions were in Carmel," right? So basically, he had his business elsewhere. Like a lot of people do that now. They have their home, but their business stuff like that is elsewhere, right? So he lived in Moab, right? So I want to actually trying to pull that up on the map, Lord willing. Right, see if we can kind of pull this thing out, right? Right. See if I can find it. Let's see where Moan is. Yeah, that's folly, right? It's ma'an. That's what it is. Like, right, right. So ma'an, right? It's not giving me the best look, right? This is something here. So this is where he lived, and then Carmel, a few miles away, whatever the case may be. But it was separate from his home, right? I'm gonna keep reading here. It says, and the man was very great. Right? When you go into that word great, right? We just go pull it up in the blue letter, right? It just mean of importance. So he was known in the land, right? Paul was actually a known individual. So right, it says he was very great. And word great gadol, right? It's saying large in number, intensity, loud, or in importance, great, distinguished of men, right? So he was a great man, right? Meaning he was highly esteemed. And I'm gonna just read it here, right? Salaki. Right, and you keep reading. It says, and he had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats, and he was sharing his sheep and caramel. So he had great wealth, man. To have 3,000 sheep, that's a lot, man. Right, let's just look up, see how this looks. 3,000 sheep. I mean, just a bunch of sheep, man. Right? Yeah, that thousands of sheep. Right? So the man had thousands of sheep and 1,000 goats. So he was a great man, right? Living in Moan. He had possessions in Carmel, right? A rich man. It says, now the name of the man was Nabal, right? And Nabal actually means fool, right? When you look at it in the blue letter, right? Nabal, it literally means fool, right? So Nabal was a fool, man. He was a rich fool, arrogant fool. We'll get to that. So it says, in the name of his wife Abigail, and she was a woman of good understanding and of a beautiful countenance. But the man was churlish and evil in his doings, and he was at a house of Caleb. So he was a Judite, right? He was an Israelite from the tribe of Judah, churlish and evil in his doings. All right, let's see that word churlish. Right, getting to the who, right? Who is this man? A churlish, evil, rich man, right? It's like he, not sure why this thing is right, but we just go pull it up. All right. So churlish is a rude and a mean-spirited way. So he was ill-mannered, impolite, ungracious. He was a rude man. Right. So Nabal, right, he was a rude fool, a rude rich fool, man. Right. And that's why the Lord let me get this precept, right? In the book of Sirach. Right? The book of Sirach, chapter 14 and verse 3, it says, riches are not comely for a niggard. And Slaki, and what should an envious man do with money? Right? So the Lord said, riches aren't comely for a niggard. And a niggard is the same as being churlish. So this is Nabal. He was a niggard, man. Right? Meaning he was ungenerous. He was a stingy and ungenerous person. Right? So riches aren't comely for a niggard. Right? Because you had rich men in the scriptures. right? Solomon was a rich man. Happy Sabbath, Naomi. Right, so he was a damn churlish man, ungenerous niggard, man. Right, but you had rich men in the scriptures like Solomon, right? You had Joseph of Arimatheus, right? He bought, the frank and myrrh for Yahweh Shah's burial, right? You had the man who hid the men in the cave, Obadiah, right? So you had plenty of rich men, but Nabal was just a fool, man, right? So it's nothing wrong with having riches, but you don't trust in those riches. Let me get First Timothy 6:20, right? First Timothy, or not 6:20, but I want verse number 17. It's the book of First Timothy, chapter 6 and 17. It says, "Charge them that are rich in this world," right? So it was men rich in the world, right? It says that they be not high-minded, nor trust in uncertain riches, which is all vanity and uncertain anyway. It says, "But in the living God, who give us riches, all it's like who gives us richly all things to enjoy." Right? Because like the most hustling, we get that in that Sirach, right? The book of Sirach, chapter 11. This is what the Lord said. The book of Sirach, chapter 11, verse 21. It says, "Marvel not at the works of sinners, but trust in Yahweh and abide in thy labor, for it is an easy thing in the sight of the Most High on a sudden to make a poor man rich. The blessings of the Lord is the reward of the godly, and suddenly he maketh his blessings to flourish." It says, "Say not, what profit there is there of my service, and what good thing shall I have hereafter?" Right. So the Most High make it for poor man rich, man. So the Most High gave Nabal all his riches, but he still decided to negate the love of his brother. Right. He hated his brother, man. Right. Because when you read it, we gonna keep going into it. He kind of disrespected his brother for no reason, man. And that's why he was a niggard, right? So let's go back to that in First Samuel 25. Right, so First Samuel 25, I'm gonna keep reading in verse 4. It says, "And David heard in the wilderness that Nabal did shear his sheep, and David sent out 10 young men, and David said unto the young men, Get ye up to Carmel, and go to Nabal and greet him in my name." So like it's just still on. Okay. "And greet him in my name." He said that was Precious, the little one. Yeah, kind. It says, in Delante, it's like it says, "And David sent out 10 young men, and David said unto the young men, Get ye up to Carmel, and go to Nabal and greet him in my name." Right. So he's sending these men right to Nabal. He's sharing his sheep. He's sharing them. He getting ready because you sharing your sheep because you getting ready to. Well, first you got to maintain them, but he's more than likely getting ready to kind of you know kill some of them for the most part. Let me get that in kill some to eat them, not just kill them. Let me get that in blue letter. All right, I'm gonna get that in Genesis 18. Genesis 18, verse 7. It says, "And Abraham ran unto the herd and fetched a young tender calf, right, a baby cow, tender and good, and gave it to the young man. And he hasted to dress it, right, dress it, right. Man, he kind of got that thing ready, man. Skin it or whatever the case may be. Let's see what they going into here. They're saying the fast to okay. Right. So he basically skinned it, got it ready. So you would kind of, you would shave off the wool before you skin it or whatever. So, you're basically trying to get some food here. And we go get that. So it's verse 6. It says, "And thus shall ye say to him that liveth in prosperity, Peace be both to thee, and peace to thy household. It's like to thy house, and peace be unto all thou hast." So he said, basically, go say shalom, go say shalom, brother, I see you got things going on, XYZ. He says, and now I have heard that thou hast shearers. Now thy shearers which were with us, we hurt them not, neither was there aught missing unto them all while they were in Carmel. Right? Because he was, miles away from Carmel in his house. So he's saying, send this report to the men and let them know, while they was out here sharing, doing a thing, no harm came to them. Right? And they actually said this themselves when you jump to verse number 15. It says, but the men were very good unto us, and we were not hurt, neither missed we anything, as long as we were conversing with them when we were in the fields. They were a wall unto us both by night and day, all the while we were with them keeping the sheep. Right? So these herdsmen, these shearers, he said David's people was a wall unto them, because they're in the wilderness. They're just out there with sheep. You got all kind of foxes and bears and lions, all hell breaking loose trying to get to the sheep. That's why the sheep need that shepherd for that protection. Right? So David's men was actually protecting those men, because you got 3,000 sheep, you got 4,000 cattle out there. Right? So you got men probably coming again, whatever, but nobody would do anything because David and them was there. And David was just doing this being a brother, but at the end of the day, he's hearing about him sharing it. So he's like, Lord willing, you'll be able to, help us out, get us some food, we in the wilderness, whatever. Everybody knows David at this time, right? And what he's going through, right? We go see that, keep reading. So it's verse 8, jump back up to 8. It says, as thy young men, and they will shew thee, wherefore let the young man find favor in thy eyes, for we come in a good day. Give, I pray thee, whatsoever cometh to thy hand, and to thy servants, and to thy son David. So, whatever extra come, just give it to us, whatever the case may be, so we can eat of it, Lord willing. Right? And when David's young men came, they spake to Nabal according to all those words in the name of David, and ceased. And Nabal answered David's servants and said, who is David? Right? So who the hell is David, man? This is what Nabal said to that kindly gesture, right? It says, and who is the son of Jesse? There be many servants nowadays that break away every man from his master. So there's many niggas who just run away slaves, man. That's what he called David. Because remember, David was on the run from Saul. So Nabal, you're like, who is David, man? Give a damn about no David. Now he knows David. That's why he say, who's the son of Jesse? I don't know him. It's like if you somebody because they got a reputation, but they asking you for something. Like, I don't know that nigga, man. Like, I don't know him personally. He in that spirit. It says, shall I then take my bread and my water and my flesh that I have killed for my shearers and give it unto men whom I know not whence they be? Like, I don't know them niggas. That's literally what he's saying. I don't know them guys. I'm not dealing with them. Right? Why would I give my stuff to them? Right? Just being a nigga, man. That's why I say he's a rude person. He just disrespected David. For no reason. He ain't say no. He just kind of just went in on him, man. They said in the scriptures in this chapter, they say he railed on them. They got on him, man. He rebuked them for kindly asking. Now, this is off on so many levels, because even in the law, let me show you. Bring this up. Leviticus 25 and 35. Are you supposed to love your brothers, man? Let's get that. Leviticus 25 and 35. Right, it says, and if thy brother be waxing poor and falling in decay with thee, then thou shalt relieve him, though he be a stranger or a sojourner, that he may live with thee. Right, so the law, you got to love your brother so much, when he waxed poor, you would let him live with you. That's how they was getting down in the ancient world, washing their brother's feet, right, all kind of stuff. Let's get this in Judges 19th chapter, right? Judges 19 and right, bear with me. Like, bear with me. Is it 18? I think it's here, but Judges 19. Okay. Bear with me. Okay, I see it. I just want to see where I want to start. Hmm. Uh, okay, I'm gonna start at 14, right? Judges 19 to 14. It says, and they passed on and went their way, and the sun went down upon them when they were by Gibeah, which belongeth to Benjamin. And they turned aside thither to go in and to lodge in Gibeah. And when he went, he sat down in a street of the city, for there was no man that took them into his house to lodging. Right? So that's the law. They supposed to kind of, see their brother, and they supposed to let him in their house. But they kind of went in. Nobody, he kind of was in the street, and he's sitting out in the street, like, hold on, there ain't nobody here. Like, nobody bringing me in, man. Right? And it says, and behold, there came an old man from his work out of the field at even, which was also of Mount Ephraim, and he sojourned in Gibeah. But the men of the place were Benjamites. And when he had lifted up his eyes, he saw a wayfaring man in the street of the city. And the old man said, whither goest thou? And whence comest thou? And he said unto him, we were passing from Bethlehem, Judah, toward the side of Mount Ephraim, from whence I am. Right, saying we kind of passed through Bethlehem, from Ephraim, and I went to Bethlehem, Judah. But I am now going to the house of the Lord, and there is no man that receiveth me to house. Right, so this wasn't normal, man. So he kind of kicking rocks in the street, man. Like, where the love at, man, in Benjamin. Right, so this was a known thing that you would take in your brother. Let alone if you got thousands and thousands of sheep. I mean, 2 sheep can kind of, 2-3 sheep can feed all David's men. You got 3,000 sheep, man. Right? It says, yeah, there is both. Yeah, there is both straw and provender for our asses, and there is bread and wine also for me and thy handmaid, and for the young men which is with thy servants. There is no want of anything. Like, it's not like we need anything. Nobody just let us into their house. Right? You didn't just have hotels and stuff set up everywhere. You had inns and stuff or whatever, but that wasn't just everywhere, man. Everywhere wasn't, a tourist town, man. It's not that kind of deal. It says, and the old man said, peace be with thee. Howsoever let all thy wants lie upon me, only lodge not in the street. So he brought him into his house and gave provender unto the asses, and they washed their feet and did eat and drink. So he said, look, man, I understand you got all that. It's cool. You can just stay with me, man. It's all love. That's how you're supposed to love your brother. Right? So this is what you learn from the ball, how to properly love your brother, not be a nigger, and not be stingy, man. That stingy spirit is wicked and off as hell. Quick to say no to your brother, right? And you got it, man. You got 3,000 sheep. You can't spare a sheep, right? Sheep, a baby sheep, is a lamb, right? For Passover, we had like 300 people. We had like 3 lambs, 3. I mean, you gave David 2-3 lambs. You got 3,000 sheep, right? So we kind of went in on David, right? This 1 Samuel 25 and 12. So David's young men turned their way and went and came and told him all those things. And David said unto his men, gird ye every man his sword. And they girded every man his sword. And David also girded on his sword and went up after him about 400 men and 200 of bow about stuff. Right, so he was coming to kill him, man. Now, Jake, they kind of say, let's roll out. It'd be 2-3 of them, 10 of them. David had 400, imagine 400 mighty men of war with swords in their hand coming to kill you, man. This is the destruction Nabal caused for his wickedness, man, for being a niggard, right? Stingy with his finances, man, towards his brother, right? Now, ultimately, Abigail actually saved Nabal's life and ultimately saved David's life because he didn't avenge himself. He said he was coming to kill everything that pissed up against the wall. So Nabal actually got struck down by the Lord. Let's read it. Right. Right. 1 Samuel 25, verse 36. And Abigail came to Nabal, and behold, he held a feast in his house like the feast of a king. And Nabal's heart was merry within him, for he was very drunken. Wherefore she told him nothing less or more until the morning light. Right. So this is after she left David and spared his life. He was feasting like a king. He just sheared all these sheep. He's probably full, drinking all his wine. I mean, he basically an a-hole, man. He's a rich a-hole, man. That's literally what Nabal is. Right? You have plenty of rich, mighty men in the scriptures. Right? This is why Yahweh Shah said, let me get that precept. I'm gonna just get it real quick out the sword, Salaki. I don't want to lose my spot here. I'm gonna just get it out. Matthew. Right, the classic. Right. Right. Matthew chapter 19. And man, this whole thing is, I want to get straight to the point. I'm just get to 20, right? Matthew 19 and 20, it says, the young man saith unto him, all these things have I kept from my youth up. What lack I yet? Right. So Christ was basically saying, or the man came up to Christ, good master, what good thing can I do to inherit eternal life? He said, you got to keep the commandments. Thou shalt not steal, kill, XYZ. And the man said, I did all that. What am I lacking? Right? This is what Christ said. Yahweh said it to him, if thou wilt be perfect, go and sell that thou hast and give to the poor, and thou shalt have treasure in heaven, and come and follow me. But the young man heard that saying. But when the young man heard that saying, he was sorrowful. It's like he went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions. Right? So the man, he had great possessions, man. So when Christ told him, you got to sell all that you had, he's like, I don't know about that, man. Right? And it's a reason this is written, man. Because you got to be ready to cast it all away and say the hell with it at any time, man. Right? And it says, then said Yahweh Shah unto his disciples, verily I say unto you, that a rich man shall hardly enter into the kingdom of heaven. And again, I say unto you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven, right? So this is just a figure of speech. It's not literally saying that. It's just saying it's harder because their mind is puffed up. They're lifted up due to them having these riches. That's why Paul said what he said. I put it out, 1 Timothy 6 and 17, 17, where he said, those who are rich in the world, don't be high-minded and focus on those riches. Right? And even let me get that. Even Solomon said that. Let me get that in Proverbs. Right? Wipe the cobwebs off this precept. Right? Get this. Right, Proverbs chapter 30. Right, so like Proverbs chapter 30, verse number 7, it says, two things have I required of thee, deny me not before I die. Remove far from me vanity and lies. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with food convenient for me, lest I be full and deny thee, and say, who is the Lord? Or lest I be poor and steal, and take the name of my God in vain. So he said, I just want to be content. Whatever I can handle, Lord, just get that to me. Every brother can't handle being rich. Nabal couldn't be a rich man, right? I mean, clearly, he got puffed up in his pride. He just didn't care. He probably was born into the money, whatever, man. But this guy was a proud man with his riches, right? You can't be Nabal, man, right? You can't be a proud man, right? Let's get that in Proverbs. Right, Proverbs chapter 29. Right, this Proverbs chapter 29 and 23. It says, a man's pride shall bring him low, but honor shall uphold the humble in spirit. Right. So the humble in spirit shall be honored. Right. And I want to get this too. Another precept and land me back in Sirach. Right, the book of Sirach. It's like chapter 10. Verse number 12, it says, actually, I'm going to start at 7. It says, pride is hateful before God and man, and by both do one commit iniquity, right? So that pride is hateful before the Most High and man, right? And I'm going to jump to verse 12. It says, the beginning of pride is when one departed from God and his heart is turned away from his maker. For pride is the beginning of sin, and he that have it shall pour out abomination, and therefore Yahweh brought upon them strange calamities and overthrew them utterly. The Lord have cast down the thrones of proud princes and set up the meek in their stead. Right, that happened with David and Saul, man. Right, that happened with David and Saul. Right, Saul was proud. He was just being overly zealous and just going the hell off. And David was just a man, just kind of dealing with the sheep. Because Saul was that guy, man. Saul, he was that guy. He was taller than everybody. He was the man, man. Right, let me find that real quick. I think that's 1 Samuel. Right, kind of show that. Right, Saul was really that guy, right? It might be in verse 7. If I can find that. So Saul. First Samuel chapter 9. It's like chapter 9 and verse number 2. It says, and he had a son whose name was Saul, a choice young man, and a goodly, right? I mean, he was handsome, right? It says, and there was not among the children of Israel a goodlier person than he. From his shoulders and upward, he was higher than any of the people. So he was the tallest. He was a handsome man, right? Fit to be that king, man, that Israel would think, because they looking on the outward appearance. That's why the Lord said, I look in the heart, man. David didn't look like a king. He was just a humble man playing his damn heart, cheering sheep, tending to the sheep. It wasn't what they expected a king to be. Right, so the Lord raised up, the meek instead of the proud man. Saying he proud, he look better than taller than everybody. You're the tallest man in Israel, a handsome, tall Jake, right? So this is 1 Samuel 25 and 37. But it came to pass in the morning when the wine was going out in the ball, and his wife told him these things, that his heart died within him, and he became as a stone. So he kind of froze up. Like David was like, I mean, it's David, man. Everybody knew what David was about, man. Right? And it says, and it came to pass about 10 days after that the Lord smote Nabal that he died. So the Lord took him out. Right? This is what happens when you pride, when you prideful. The Lord took Nabal out and then gave his wife to David. Literally, man. Right? That's actually what happened. Right? When you continue to read, he actually took his wife, man. He ain't take his wife, but he got put to death, and then his wife married a better man. Right? See that? So, I mean, that can happen to you in this thing. Right? That's why I kept saying Nabal's wife, even after this chapter. Nabal's wife. That's that lesson, man. So the Lord can take you out just for you being a niggard and being proud. right? So you can't be proud. You can't be a nigger. I thought the stream was showing this whole time, Salakia, but all praise to the Most High. Brothers can follow along with the precepts. Right, brother? See, he probably was drunk talking noise. Kind. Yeah, the ball was going the hell off, man. You can't be like Nabal in this thing. All right? A true nigger, man. Right? So all praise to the Most High, right? Lord willing, that was edifying. Right? Kwam Yasha Allah. Y'all stay diligent. Subscribe to the WFI Detroit channel. Right? Mighty lessons on there, man. Mighty Sabbath lessons every Saturday, Lord willing. Right? But with that, Lord willing, y'all have a mighty Shabbat. Right? Shalom.